Coming up on AI Unscripted, join hosts Dan Brown and Eric Carey as they explore how AI is redefining software development. Get ready for an episode filled with in-depth looks at Google's Vertex AI, innovative coding solutions, and the transformative impact of AI tools on technology as we know it. Don't miss out. Tune in to discover the future of apps and software shaped by artificial intelligence.
All right, well, welcome back. We appreciate everybody, all of our viewers and listeners that's back in and listening to us. We are glad to have you back. We are here to have another conversation about AI and everything that does to benefit us as a society. I'm Eric Carey, and I'm here with Dan Brown, and we're going to explore additional AI tools and the news that has released over the last week or so, and just talk about anything from Google's agents that's been released all the way to Adobe, the new Adobe Pro, where they've got a new AI tools advancement. I'm definitely looking forward to today's episode, and we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it today because I'm just excited to get started.
All right, let's do it.
All right. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Dan, I guess we're gonna, we'll just jump right in. I'm gonna pass it over to you because I think our first thing that we're kind of like looking at talking about, I know that you and I were both excited about, was the Google and the agents they're promoting and releasing. So what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so I sent you that video, and I was when I first saw the video, I was like super excited that they're creating all these different agents. They had this hour and a half long presentation, and it's all about like all these AI tools they're creating, and like right off the bat, when you see some of these things, you're like, oh my God, this is awesome. And then I did go and play with, so first off, they announced a bunch of different agents, and they kind of, there's 6 agents that they announced. They announced customer service agents, or they just call them customer agents, employee agents, creative agents, data agents, code agents, and security agents. And it's like they're productizing these agents, I think, to almost make them more digestible versus like what OpenAI is doing. They have what they call as like Assistance API. But long story short, they showed these really cool demos, and it looked awesome. And then I went to go play with the agent builder, and it was not, I feel like, ready for prime time. And so at first when I saw it, I was like, this is a custom GPT builder. This is really cool. And I think it'll get there. But when I went to play with it, it was kind of buggy, wasn't working that well. And so I've no doubt Google can fix that. They have so many people. But what was interesting is some of what they were showing, and they seem like they're catching up, like, to OpenAI, and they've got some really cool stuff in the pipeline. And some of their demos were extremely cool. I just was unhappy with the fact that the low code, no code I pick it up didn't work as well when I first tried it. But like I said, I think they're going to fix that. And it seemed very much like their agent builder was like the GPT builder with custom, with OpenAI, where you can go in there, create a custom chatbot on top of the Gemini 1.5 Pro, which is the million token context window, which you can do a lot with. And then you give it tools to incorporate this in your business. And then also it was a lot more enterprise related. So showing like these are enterprise tools, that was also kind of a differentiator.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole thing, Google had a lot in the line with this, because with their release with Gemini, their big announcement they had, a month or so ago, it was met with excitement when they first released their demos and their video that they had about it, to immediate, within 2 or 3 days of, wait a minute, that they exaggerated their results, right? They knew that they had to get caught up with the market because the OpenAI had significantly took a lead, and so they had some little bit bad press on it. But I feel like this release with agents and showing the capabilities of what you can do, because I think that's where OpenAI lacked, is when you watch how Google shows off their Vertex AI and shows the of how you can integrate it with your own website. That to me was a big step, because even though you can do it with ChatGPT and using their custom GPTs, it's a little bit. It seemed they never really did a good job of advertising it as beneficial and useful for those who don't never really used it before. So it was exciting to me to watch, and I'm sure there was a lot of people excited to watch how they released that and showing you how it can function in and with your own website and help customers purchase things, and so I was really excited about it. And I think it's also, they're definitely like their gateway to app development as well. And I think we're going to start seeing a lot of increased usage on that, which I know you and I've talked about in our previous episode about what's going to happen with apps. So it seems like right now Google is somewhat committing to that still, but so I'm curious to see what they do with that.
Yeah, it's very clear they have a great model with that has a huge memory, and I use it a lot to like you can upload videos, ask it questions about the video, whereas you can't do that with ChatGPT. So they have really strong AI, and it was almost a little bit too enterprise versus what ChatGPT is kind of going after, like making these GPTs. But then on the other end, some of these GPTs were not yet that they're somewhat useful. On another note, just this afternoon, before we even were exchanged, or after we exchanged some of the news for last week, OpenAI just announced that basically an updated retrieval augmented generation model, meaning when you upload files to your custom GPT or just through their assistance API, which is like the enterprise version of their GPT builder, they just announced that you can now upload 500 times more like documents. And so this is kind of exciting from the fact that I don't know if this is also going to be in the GPTs, but that was one of the problems with GPTs, is that they launched it early. And so you didn't have this great document retrieval, meaning you upload these documents and say, hey, here is your knowledge base. Like only answer questions from this knowledge base for this GPT. And it wasn't really good at that. Yet you could do that with the API very well. So that's another exciting thing that's happened. So I think it's going to make the GPTs a little bit better as well.
Yeah, I mean, it has to. I mean, this is a war, and the AI wars are going to only make the product a better product. I do wonder, what is going to be the lack of a better word, the ripple effect with developers. This is going to open the market up to make it to where it's easier for maybe a small business to kind of do his own website or their own, his or hers, and be able to utilize AI into their business and help significantly cut cost, and they can save the money to where they don't have to go out and hire a web developer. They can kind of do things on their own. What do you think the impact on that on just the developers and the coders, how is it going to affect their life and their jobs?
Well, so I think, now if you want to start a website, I think there's like Wix and there's all these different website builders that you can take these templates and then, kind of modify them on your own. I think that you're basically just going to be able to talk, just talk to or chat with a bot, and then it's going to be spinning up it'll find you a template, it'll customize it for you. And then what's interesting, so you could go that route. So people, like anyone, can just build a website just through a chatbot or just through talking to a chatbot. And then, one of the great use cases for having a huge, so a million token context window. We talked about this previously. It's like a million words. Is that you could put your a large part of your code base into Gemini's new model, and you could talk to it, and it will then modify the code for you, because these large language models can write code. And Google has said that they have a context window of 10 million tokens or 10 million words working behind the scenes. They're only allowing us to use 1 million. So I think above, like, you can just imagine that I can now start talking to the code on my site, and yeah, like you could start doing more on your own. Obviously, like it's you always are going to want, I think, really good developers on your team. and then give them these tools, because then you can get even better results. But the point is that talented people who can code are now going to be that much more efficient. And then people like me who are not like great coders will be able to do more though. And so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I've not had a chance to really to play around with it as much as I'd like to. I'm definitely going to, that's my plans this week and this weekend is I'm going to kind of dive into it. Based off of the demos that I'm watching though, it looks similar to the GPT builder with OpenAI, but I mean, it looks actually a little bit more user friendly and potentially easier to build. Just based off the demo.
When I tried it, it wasn't that way, but I think they're going to go that way. But when I messed around with it, it was after I sent you the thing, I was kind of disappointed. But
really, see, and that's kind of disappointing just hearing that in general, because watching it, I had, I started thinking of all these different ideas of what I could use with it, and
I'm sure it's going to get better.
It has to. And well, I won't say it has to because it's Google, and I still, even to this day, being tech savvy myself, when I go to Gmail and try to figure out how to forward an email, I still get confused about which button it is to hit forward versus it doesn't seem intuitive sometimes. So
yeah.
So it may or not, I don't know, but I'm excited at least for because OpenAI needs to be able to sweat a little bit too about it, and I'm sure that they're not. I'm sure that they know they're ahead of the game, but I'm all for competition. And in the end, if you can integrate it right into your website, then great. I mean, that's even better. So hopefully it doesn't fail, or not fail. Well, hopefully it doesn't flop. Like their first demo, and people actually get in there to mess around with it, and they're like, it's not as good as you told it to be. So I'm actually cheering them on at this point, because I know they're one of the big guys, but I want things to be successful. I want to see this move forward. So,
well, yeah. And just one thing on that, like, it's definitely very clear that Gemini Google has a good model, and they've caught up basically to ChatGPT. They're very close, and they're actually surpassing them in certain areas. And that they're now creating tools for like larger companies, for enterprise to be putting this into place. So it's definitely, I think, a good product.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, when it comes to these AI tools, just from this is our third episode, and just in the 3 episodes that we've done, we have already seen a significant increase. We've seen the pace. I mean, the pace is still picking up, and I'm getting excited about every week between looking at the articles I'm looking at, and then Dan and I would kind of send each other articles throughout the week of things that we think is interesting and want to talk about. And one of the things that we recently, I've got some notes here to kind of make sure that, because I want to cover some of the things we talked about, is you sent me an article about the InfoWorld's article where it's highlighting where you can run your own AI and the power behind local language learning models. To me, being able to have a local language learning model on your own PC and to be able to control it is exciting. What's your thoughts? Like, what,
Yeah. So when I heard about this last year, like, first off, I didn't even understand that you could run a large language model like ChatGPT on your computer without the internet. And so it kind of boggled my mind. It made me ask myself a few questions. It's like, wait a second, how does this thing even work? I thought I had to have all this compute. Like, I thought I had to have massive server farms, to talk to this thing. And then I realized that, okay, the most compute that's used is training these models, meaning you're just giving all this data into these models, and they're finding like all of these like connections between all of like, in patterns between all the different words. And these models are basically like really good next word predictors, and they predict the next word. And then and that's kind of maybe a whole different podcast. We kind of go into some of that stuff on a very high level, how these things work. So when I realized that I could have use some of these large language models on my computer without the internet, I was kind of blown away, and that's when I figured out that the thing that is most mind-blowing about these models is that they find these mathematical, like they take all of our language and they they've crunch it down and condense it, this now all of this knowledge into like these mathematical, like this mathematical model that can be like stored on a USB stick. So it's really compressing all this information, and then you're just interfacing with that. So it takes all this computing power for them to figure out these mathematical representations. But then once you have those mathematical representations called the models, or the model's weights and values and the parameters, then when you're just talking to the ChatGPT model, that's like a model that works really well. You're just talking to a model that's using those calculations. And when you do that, you're not using as much computing power. Now for ChatGPT 4, you still couldn't run that on your computer, but you can run smaller models that aren't as high performance on your computer. And like if the internet ever shut down, like you still have access to like all this information. And so I thought that was really cool. And last year I started messing around with some of the models, and the models were not nearly as good as ChatGPT 4. But now these models, these open source models, are getting so much better. And open source models are another thing that we should probably talk about, but they're models that are like you know, uh, OpenAI used to be like an open company. It's not. It's kind of like a closed. Their models. It's not, the source code is not available. But so it's really cool that you can on your computer have different models that you can talk to, that not be connected to the internet, giving you basically private, like privacy.
And the cool thing is like, I mean, how many, I mean, like what we've said in every episode, it's a double-edged sword, but let's go on the positive side here. How many cool inventions have happened in someone's garage that, they were bringing together all these little tools, and making their own thing out of it. So allowing someone to have access to their own language learning model, that's not that they have the free will to be able to, you know, program, let's say, the way they want to, and not put restrictions on it, for a local wise. That, to me, that's exciting for potential of what could come. I mean, because that's where it comes from. It's the people that are working hard and making their own inventions and making, out of ideas they have at the last moment. So I'm seeing, to me personally, I'm seeing a lot of potential here of development, that may actually happen, and it may cause some rogue, where we're going to have these rogue, I can just see, I can picture it now in my head, these rogue robots that someone's programming in their with their local computer. But it's going to happen regardless, right? Someone's
I
going to
mean,
do it. So
I don't know. I think that I don't think with these models are like, they're large language models. They chat, like they talk and everything. They can write code, but they it is very cool to be able to have these locally. I think that, we talked about privacy before. Privacy matters, and as people get these more, as this becomes more part of our daily lives, and I think that you're going to start seeing with like Apple and Google, they've come out with these very small models that are high performant. And I think it's because they know they want you to be able to run these models directly on your phone, and not and be able to know that that information is not going to them, but it's staying locally. Now, it all depends on all the apps you have on your phone, like, right, if there's things collecting in the background, they could still be getting that. But the point is that the edge computing, meaning like you're doing the computing on the device, I think is going to be really big with this stuff. And people are already talking about like ChatGPT for open models that are coming out, open source models. Now those are still large models, but it's progressing so fast, and these models are getting smaller and smaller. And so it's really cool that you're going to be able to, probably in the next year, have an open a model that you can run locally on your computer is pretty much as good as ChatGPT 4 if you have a newer computer, like not a really old computer, but like a gaming computer or anything over like a MacBook that has one of their newer chips. Then you technically like you could be chatting this thing like on an airplane. It can be writing code for you. It could
yeah,
be, doing what you do. And I think that is important, because not everything we should be doing should be sent to these companies. And then another important part about this is that a lot of businesses, you could actually have a very high performant model that's open source, and then you just buy like a bunch of, GPUs, and you could be a hospital that doesn't ever want to send any of the data out. And then so that's why a lot of these things are important for people to just understand, is that it's not, you could buy a bunch of GPUs and then host your own models, and therefore do things that you don't have to give all your customer data away.
Yeah, I mean, in between the two of our personalities, see, Dan likes to keep things more rational, and I like to think of someone building a robot in their garage. So
I
between the
want people
two
to
of
put
us,
robots in their garage. And no, but I just think that there's this over, so many people are so afraid of, like, this thing's taking over. I just don't think we're like there.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's just like, you go back all the way to the 1950s with the blob and stuff. People like to think, you like to always go the extra, scary mile, but in the end, it's not, we're not there yet, and I don't think we are going to be there as close as what people like to think. But people like to talk about it. So, but with all this said, so you have the local wise, you have the local language learning models. But the next thing you're going to have with AI tools that is continuing to develop is going to go with the creativity part of it. So recently, Adobe announced that, or released, actually, they didn't announce, they released their newer version of their video editing software. What I found to be interesting about this is Adobe, you can go back to the 90s, right? And Adobe was always that premier software that people use to be able to update, to Photoshop their personal photos in the house. And the one thing that I've enjoyed is, like, I've always loved playing around with editing things. And now to watch that video of showing how AI enhancement within a matter of a prompt and a click. I mean, the video even showed, changing someone's watch on their wrist within this matter of a click. To me, what used to take a matter, hours to sit there and zoom in and slowly edit around something to cut their picture out, to see where it's came now with Sora and OpenAI's photo editing, with Adobe. And the exciting part is that this is just the beginning. It's still early in the AI world, and we're already seeing these major advancements. What do you think this is going to do with, like, with those studios? I mean, like we talked about with the other one, when it comes to having web developers. What is this going to do to artists now that you can now do it with a prompt at home? That's, once again, this is another tool, an AI tool that's going to be able to potentially save companies, small businesses and large businesses, thousands, tens of thousands, and sometimes maybe millions of dollars, just because you can now have a prompt that takes care of what used to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to totally commoditize the making of videos and editing of videos. So it's kind of like, when like, there's gonna be, when Kodak didn't create the smartphone and they just, decided to not do that, and not have to go to digital cameras and stuff. They there's just, it's just gonna, there's so many industries that are going to be changed. So yeah, you can now easily, like, I never knew Adobe Photoshop. Now I can go ahead and do things like what you can already do that with some of these Firefly AI, I think is the name of this thing. You can go in there and just, like, circle something and say, hey, replace this with, or like, just take out this payphone in this video, and it, like, does it. And now the video just keeps going without a payphone on a wall or something. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You can just change so many things. And so if that was your job before, now you could do like 100 times the work you did before, but then also people can now do things that you were doing. And so it's like this constant moving, evolution. But yeah, it's one thing I've noticed is that AI, just generative AI, is so good that it's at a lot of things. If you didn't know how to use Excel, you can now use Excel. It tells you how to do Excel. And then these new tools that you're talking about, like, where you can just, like, circle things and it'll regenerate. One of the things is, like, it opened up a briefcase in this video, and they just circled the briefcase, what was inside the briefcase, and say, hey, put a bunch of diamonds there, and it just put a bunch of diamonds. And now the whole it's like, it's not just an image, it's within a video. So now everything where that briefcase is moving, there's a bunch of diamonds in there moving with it. And so it's basically magic is a better way of like explaining how this, it looks like magic, feels like magic. And so anyone can create this stuff now.
You're exactly right. And, to add on to your point, like it is magic. And what used to be done in a studio, right? And you go back to, you think of Star Wars and the of using many figurines to create an entire scene that looks realistic, right? It's all about the angles and how you film it. You don't have to do that anymore. And if you do, this will not only enhance it significantly. I don't think that the fear of human of the artistic part of it is going to go away. It's not, because in the end, it's still, what's awesome about AI is that, for somebody like me, I can't draw. I have good ideas, but to actually get from my brain onto paper is a whole different world. But I don't have to do that anymore. I can still use my imagination and just prompt it. And if you don't like it, you can tweak the prompt and it fixes it with instant gratification, which is what all humans want. I think that this is going to revolutionize marketing. I mean, marketing is going to be significant because now I can use it to create a storyboard, and then on top of the storyboard, I can use it to actually create the product. And it's going to allow me, if I have a small business, I can go out and produce my own advertising. And it's not. And you look at it, well, then advertisements are going to lose their job and not be out there. I disagree. I think especially right now, if you're in the marketing or advertising or whatever industry, now is the time to capitalize on AI. Learn it, use it, get really good at it, and sell yourself as being even better, but with AI capabilities, because everything in the society is going to have a slow catch on. Even though there's a big community with AI, in the end, it's still a small portion. There's still a lot of people out there who have no idea how it works, won't even attempt to learn how to work. So now is a good time to capitalize on the AI skills and learn it and use it in your business. And then, down the road, if you are a small business, learn it. And it can save your company. You can cause your company to grow, and you can save so much more money just by learning it.
I think the biggest thing would be is that, if you are a group of 3, you could produce now what maybe only Leo Burnett could have done. Or so now you as a small group, you learn these AI tools, utilize them like you're mentioning, and you can perform with the largest agencies. Now, if you're one of the largest agencies, I think that's going to change your model so much, and they're going to struggle the most. But for the smaller firms that can compete with them, it's an opportunity. But if you're a giant firm, I think you really need to rethink things. And then it becomes like, how do you then use these AI tools, and how do you reinvent yourself so that, knowing that small groups of people can now do what you do, now you need to go and then do what they can't do, which, I think that's going to be tough. And that's where, if you have your own Sora model, which is like ChatGPT's model, where they spent probably a bunch of money to create these video models, now they're they're overtaking the giant firms. So now, you know what I mean? So it's an interesting world. So it's depending on your mindset and where you're at in it, this could be it might change your day to day, meaning it might make what you do a day to day, if you're at a marketing firm, obsolete. But now it also might make it so that you can, if you're super creative, you can have your own agency. So it just depends how you look at it and what your skill sets are, and just kind of reconsidering how your day will look and what you can do. Some people are now going to be able to just leave a marketing agency and create their own.
Well, where the instant impact is going to be with social media. With AI, social media is going to be it's already affecting it. People have been using ChatGPT to create scripts for themselves for their social media accounts. People have been using ChatGPT to set up a schedule for them, create mind charts, and create all these different things that allow them to produce a product. Even go with ebooks. I mean, ebooks. A year ago, ebooks were skyrocketing people in financially because they were using ChatGPT to write the ebook, publishing it, and getting people to, that's how they were getting emails, listings, and then using those email listings to promote their product, all because of ChatGPT. Now with all these other AI tools coming out, it's going to significantly, those who utilize it they're going to be able to capitalize. And it's always those who are early pioneers who are using their imagination to think of things through. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but one of the worst things that ever happened to TikTok, however people made so much money, were those who pretended to be an AI or whatever, and no matter what gift you gave them, they got money for, and they would make a different reaction. Annoying, awful trend. I think everybody hated it, but yet you just got stuck into it like a train wreck. But where I'm going is that somebody discovered that and capitalized on it. There was a market for it, and then everybody else joined in on it. AI is going to do the same thing. Those who can utilize their imagination, you no longer have to work for a big firm and have that big budget of money to be able to utilize. You now can promote yourself. And that's where a lot of people are on social media, is self-promoting. They're trying to market themselves. And AI is going to allow you to market yourselves more than any other time in the world. So I'm excited to kind of see. I'm sure there will be some annoying trends that some people will start. I have no doubt.
Yeah. You know what? On social media, there's so many annoying trends. And it's like so many people just like doing the same stuff to get the algorithm. It's just like, I really hope that, like we're talking about these tools, that allows people to differentiate, to be a bit different. Obviously, they're going to try to like go viral, but if not, I actually think AI tools will be, will in a way possibly make social media so you don't, like, I can just go have an AI agent go and follow a bunch of these people that I find most interesting, bring back the information, and then maybe no one will listen to any podcasts. It'll be all AI generated, and all we're doing now is helping train a model. Or someone will have their AI agent come listen to our podcast, summarize it, and be like, Dan is not succinct. He takes too long to get to the point. But he maybe has some interesting ideas, but I don't want to spend an hour to just get out the 5 minutes of core interesting values or things that he had. And then, so maybe we're just training data, and that's all we are, is like people subscribe to us and they're just subscribing to our data. And then they put it into their model, and then they get their AI news generated for them. So who knows? This is interesting world. But yeah, if you want to create a video, you merely create a cool video. Maybe no one watches videos anymore because they're just using Gemini and ChatGPT to watch the video. And that's what becomes like, we already so much, all this data we're creating. It's like so much text and videos that are creating. It's like every year, it's like this exponential curve of how much we're creating. Yeah. And now you give us these generative AI tools, which that's the main thing, is they generate more text, video, audio, and then it just becomes overwhelming. So the hilarious thing would be is if like generative AI comes out and people get so sick of content. That'd be the funny part. And then all of a sudden people are like, I just need a break.
It's going to cause the opposite effect. So we're having this big technology revolution, and people are just going to this will finally what breaks people from their phone, and finally break something, and they'll actually like, hey, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to go plant something, I'm going to go garden. Maybe this is it. Maybe that's the key to it all.
I mean, I don't think so, but sometimes it's like, the craziest outcome is like the outcome that happens or something. But yeah, it's magic that you can create videos now. Grandma's going to be creating, Pixar level cartoons in the next 5 years.
I'm telling you, there's some, if you follow social media and influencers, we'll call, some of the most entertaining influencers out there are people who are, age 65, 70, 80. They're the funniest ones just because they have the realest content. So
yeah, that's an interesting thought experiment right there. I won't go down that rabbit hole, but
kind of to also kind of go a little bit off of where we're at, is I really am looking forward to seeing like where where AI is going to take, because we already know, and I've said a long time ago, and this is completely way off script here, but I said a long time ago, flying vehicles will never exist until we have artificial intelligence that can drive for them, because you can never trust a human. I would never want to trust any human flying outside of a licensed pilot, obviously, but for a flying vehicle, I would never want to trust the mass public controlling their own vehicle flying over my house. I would never sleep ever. And so where I like to see, we know one of the original AIs was with Tesla, right? Elon Musk with creating an AI to help drive, have an artificial intelligence that can self-drive a vehicle. I'm kind of curious to see where this is going to take off with just machinery in general. Like, you got farming equipment that's already starting to utilize some of this information, but how far does it go? I mean, like where does it stop?
It's so funny. Like you don't want to like have the flying cars unless they're all automated. I'm like sitting in traffic and I'm like, oh my gosh, why are we all sitting on
Yeah.
3 lanes when there's this open sky? It's just like infinite, right?
Yep. You just
And and I'm pretty sure, you could take, the self-driving car technology we have now and we'd be perfectly fine. But of course the FAA won't allow this stuff. It's been around for freaking years. You've had all these flying cars available. And I would say, like, when I see flying cars, my main thing is just like, okay, it's not the technology, it's getting the approval from the government.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing. It's like these companies go out of business before they can get the approval. So yeah, every single time I'm sitting, like I live out in the suburbs and I need to go to the city and I want a drone to fly me there. And the drone is going to do that soon. And now we're very close to that. It's gonna be like Uber drones, Lyft drones. And I can't wait. And, the government just needs to get out of the way on some of this stuff. And because the technology's there. And but I feel like the technology's been there for a very long time. And
they got out of the way and they got out of the way in the space transportation, with the rockets, because they were going to retire their program, their shuttle program, and they not only did they get out of the way, but they encouraged for someone to get the contract, the NASA contract to be able to transport things. And look at the boom. All the billionaires, jumped in on it, trying to invest into getting it. And we got it so fast. I mean, to look back at how SpaceX, to go from the shuttle system that we had with NASA to now a rocket that can land itself. If you, in the grand scheme of things, and we're talking a matter of a couple of years, because the government got out of the way and said, whoever can come up with the best concept, you get the $1 billion contract, billions of dollars. Probably trillions at this point. So they got out of the way, and that's what happens when you spark it.
Well, and so, kind of like looking at this, and like I feel like it almost is like someone flipped a switch, and it's like now we have this, like I call it alien technology, which is these large language models that aren't just they shouldn't be called large language models, because they're looking at images, at videos, and all this stuff. They compress information and they mathematically understand like our knowledge at such a high level that they can do things that seem just totally alien. And so you have this, and we talked about the convergence of like robotics. Like today I just saw some new Boston Dynamics robot that's like looks so creepy. They did a bad video because it almost is like this like sci-fi like terrifying movie, but reality, like the robot looks like really good. Like it just like was like conforming and doing these different things. But it's and like you have drones, you have all this technology, and all like, so we can have flying cars, we can have all this stuff, and it seems as though it's like all of a sudden now it's just all going to happen. But I feel as though it's just been like technology that just hasn't. Some of it's like on the cutting edge, some of it's like been held back in a way.
Yeah.
And so it's like now it's all coming together, like the glue of generative AI, allowing it to do like all these things to accelerate, is then going to become like overwhelming, right? And I think that's where we're going. It's like complete overwhelming stage of, and then I think it's going to be like certain places are certain like people are there's already a huge rift over this. I enjoy creating like AI generated songs, like just joking ones. Like we talked about Suno.ai, and another one came out like a week ago. It's called Udio. It's basically Suno. It's udio.com. Some of their, it's interesting. Some of their songs they create aren't that great, but then half the time they're way better than Suno. So it's
Yeah.
like they have a different setting. And I was last night just like sending some goofy ones to my friends, and my one buddy wasn't texting me back. So I used like a 2-sentence prompt being like, hey, create a song being like a blues song being like, why aren't you like to my buddy Paul, ask him why he's not texting me back. And they create this like really funny like blues song about it. Instead of me saying, hey, why aren't you texting me back? I just sent him that song. And like he didn't get back to me. And then today he's like, I prefer humans to, for my music. And like we've actually had like a few debates about it. Like he's pretty concerned about all this. I am too, but I think, yeah, it's so there's gonna be issues. Even my buddy is like, I think, disturbed highly that I'm like enjoying this a little too much.
Yeah.
And then I can, on the flip end of this, go down a path where it is very concerning. I've kind of given up on the like, I can't stop it. Like, right. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to ride this wave because no one's really going to listen to my concerns anyway. So,
Well, and the funny thing is that he's looking at it all wrong. He needs to be looking at it is it's not about AI and taking away from artists. This is a toy, right? This is now it's you go on there to have fun. It's like going to the store back when they had the Home Alone voice recorder that was so popular like in the early 90s. Like you could record yourself and like play it back, and it like changes your voice. This is all this is. It's just a toy to play with. So now
yeah.
it will change the industry, but it's still fun.
Yeah. He's he in his job, I'm not gonna like say exactly what he does, but
Yeah.
he works for the government, and in his job, I don't think he wants much change. And it
That's a government
reminds me a lot
employee
of
for you.
like teachers. Like the teachers, I feel like there's gonna be a massive like teachers union will not like AI. And he's not a teacher, but like I can go ahead and use this example. Like teachers unions, I think, are gonna fight AI so much, yet this is like should be something they totally embrace.
The embrace.
And I think we have a lot of unions having problems with this. It used to be like, hey, we're sending all these jobs overseas, manufacturing jobs and stuff. Like I'm a huge proponent of American manufacturing. Our family business, Loggerhead Tools, matter of fact, self-promotion for Loggerhead Tools. Like this is one of the products that we have. I have this on my desk because I just like when in meetings and stuff, I show people like this adjustable wrench and automatic. Like we sold a bunch of these, 3 million of these, but it's because we have a patent on it.
You should have told me. You should have told me that you're going to pull that out because it's fun. I've not told you this yet. I have one downstairs that that my grandmother bought me like
Yes.
I don't know how many years ago, and so and I've just never told you that. But I can go get it. I can bring it up here.
Yeah, I mean, because that's where I learned a lot about business. I grew up in this family business. My dad invented this, and then I started other businesses after. But yeah, like we're big on American manufacturing, and almost all the tools are made in China and imported. And like you have a small group of people that care about that, and everyone else like, yeah, no problem. It's like offshore these jobs. Now I think it's going to be so interesting. Everyone's going to be like, AI is going to take my job. We need to create laws to stop AI from taking my job. And here it is, unscripted. I noticed that about halfway through our podcast, it kind of goes totally unscripted. But I think this is the part I enjoy the most. I don't know. We have to fast forward to this part of this.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah,
we try to keep we try to get we don't script out this show, but we try to do a little structure because Dan and I both we both can go off wild tangents. So, but I agree. This is my favorite part. This is always
I enjoy no structure. And that's why I feel like we're so good together because you provide structure. And if there was no structure, it would be really bad. But
hey, maybe we need to do an episode where we have no structure whatsoever.
We'll do the episode where I all of a sudden like I do the intro, and then the intro is just like just complete garbage, and it just goes down the rabbit. Like there is no intro, and just like we just don't have any music because it just goes right, off the rails. But
hey, to me that sounds like a good episode 5 or a special episode, just episode 10. Like that will be the fun thing that we do. So
I I do like our structure because it's structured. It's what are they the known unknowns. So it's the known unstructured. Is that
Yes.
the best way to put it? Is like there's some knowns that we go into this with, but yeah. So I don't even remember what we were talking about, but I do predict huge. I mean, I actually think what the election, like, what do you think? Do you think the AI is like the election? I feel like AI and jobs. I mean, so many different things. The
Cool.
Supreme Court, like,
Yeah.
people never thought about this stuff. They were talking about all these, like, when they were vetting Supreme Court judges, they weren't being like, "Hey, what are your opinions on AI and privacy and how this is going to affect jobs?" And like, I think this is going to be the Supreme Court's going to rule on all of these things because all these models were used copyrighted material. There's all these lawsuits. We should actually have maybe do another thing on one of the next episodes talking about that. But it's like, because I have some theories on how it doesn't even matter if you get rid of all the copyrighted information from these models, because the fact that they already now know how to understand and talk back and forth, you can almost create synthetic data and synthetic model, like trained models that goes around the copyrights, but still, in the sense, they use the copyright material to create the first versions of these that almost now got us to where we don't need the copyright material. And it's another episode, but
Well,
yeah.
to your point with politics, I mean, I can already see that in 2024 at the end of the election, I could see it could be used to blame the election of how it was interfered with was because of AI, or how it wasn't. I mean, how AI could have interfered with it or didn't interfere with it. So I can already see it being blamed because, like you said, like we kind of like how we started the show out. This has changed. AI technology is so rapid.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of somewhat circle back, not to get us off topic again, because we're going on a good way, but to kind of circle back it is kind of fishy, that we have all these, the United States government shot down some unknown objects over Canada and in Michigan, and all of a sudden AI takes a boom. So I'm not saying it's aliens, but we know the classic meme, it could be aliens. So
another thing we need to talk about in the future, because before I go down this rabbit hole, is that the fact is that so this is like a race. It's a race, like it's an AI race between other countries. And so the whole thing is that as much as people that in the one camp that want to regulate this thing like out of existence, they don't realize that just other countries will then win and like use this to control, like to win like a military race, right? And so therefore I don't think it's ever going to be like totally like right, like just like we have an open, like they let the internet be like the wild, wild west. They're going to let this thing go because they want other countries using our models, because in a way there's a form of control in these models. Yeah. And they don't want us using China's models because China doesn't have the same values and beliefs as us. So it's interesting when I think about it, like how else is going to, and of course I could be like wrong about all this, but I believe that there's no way to win the AI race unless the whole world is using your models. You see this with social media. Like social media creates so much unrest, like Facebook and all these things in other countries. And now, like you could actually they actually, I think, use Facebook to create these almost like revolutions, right? And now you see that other countries don't allow us to just use our social media without their restrictions in their countries. So it's the same thing with AI and generative AI. And but you want you want people contributing to your AI. So the country that has the best laws for this are going to attract the best AI talent. And that's why I think Europe is going to, if you're like an AI researcher, you're going to leave Europe because some of their rules are kind of crazy. Cool. But yeah,
and that's a good point. I mean, we did the same thing with PC, with computers in general, with the internet. I mean, right? I mean, we didn't invent the internet, we kind of did. We developed it. But you kind of go and you look at social media apps with Facebook and Instagram and even TikTok right now is a big topic. And you look at China's model. They don't use ours. We don't use theirs. Right? That's the whole thing that we go back and forth with. And it's because we don't trust each other. And so you're right. I think the more we have, the more better our models are, the fast, because we know that AI, we now can see that the AI technology it rapidly increases. And so if you slow it down, then somebody else can catch up very quickly. So I think I agree with your point. I think that's the reason why they probably live in it.
We're in a
But it's not
cold
any good.
war. We're in a cold war with China.
Yeah.
And so like that's why we're trying to get like rid of TikTok here, because well, there's two theories on that. One is that people would say, hey, like Meta and Facebook wanted to be able to buy this, right? It's competition. But there also truly is like that. So I think that's true. Two, so that's like the regulatory capture, right? You just like, you know, you say, hey, but I don't actually believe China should have a social media own a social media company here, because if you look at how their social media, how TikTok operates here versus how it operates there, it's like really, you know, really, I just got on TikTok and I'm really not a fan of it. Like when I first came onto it, but I also noticed with Twitter, if you create a new Twitter account, the stuff you see is absolute garbage. And so same thing with TikTok. And until you like start liking the things that you want, which for me is all AI stuff, you just have to go through a lot of garbage. And it's a little disturbing, like almost what the algorithm teaches people to share. And you're like, oh my gosh. And in the beginning, it's like, why is the algorithm for these things so bad? Like, and it's almost a reflection of like what, you know, the problem with social media. And hopefully
You know,
AI
I was gonna say,
smarter and not, you know, more, you know, like maybe it's a savior here from social media.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying when it comes to with TikTok and the algorithms, because you know, I've been on it I was probably one of the early adopters to it. Unfortunately, it was a boredom during COVID, but for everybody that know around me that got it, like it takes time to build that algorithm, and like you wish. And so now I've had it for so long, I get exactly the videos I want to see. I rarely get any of those crazy. I mean, every once in a while you'll get one crazy, but most of them are pretty straightforward. But I know people who get it and they're like, whoa, just because I'm a male, I'm getting these crazy videos,
Yeah.
And so, but with that said, I agree. I think that there is some regulations, not regulations. I don't like regulation. I think there is some common sense of what we need to do with our social media to prevent that from other countries controlling us. But at the same time, I like these social media apps because it helps you connect with people who are like-minded, which is good and bad.
That's how we met. And in a way to tie AI back into this, actually, so those algorithms are like an AI algorithm, right? The recommendation systems. And so I really hope that now that we have better generative AI, I can more quickly like create this customized version of what I want out of social media. And right now, when I start a new account on these things, it takes a while for it to like get the way I want it. And I have to go through a lot of this garbage. And so that's another thing, is like getting better content, like customizing a better experience for myself. And I think that actually almost gets into some of these other things we're talking about. Is like, I think that when you go to websites in the future with generative AI, you almost can bring your settings with you in a personalized, private way, if it's done right, so that you are always kind of getting this unique experience when you go to a website. So like, I think in a few years from now, when you go to some websites, it's going to look different for everybody, right? Because it's just going to auto generate, because it's generative AI. So you can have generative websites where it of course is selling you something or doing something for you. But when you go there, it automatically spins up the site for you. Similar when you go to Amazon, and when you go there, it's showing you different things. Same kind of infrastructure, but I even think the infrastructure could change in this new way for a truly generative experience.
I mean, that's what Google and Facebook and all, they want to get your data. So they give you their product for free so they can get your data. And then, what they're telling you, how they're selling it to you is that they want your data so they can give you a better customized experience, give you the ads that you want to see, that type of thing. Now, we all know that even when they have my information, I still get most of the stuff that they advertise. I don't care about, don't want to see. They use my information to sell. I think with AI, you have the potential to actually get a better customization of what you want, if they allow it to happen. That was one of the things with the Google Vertex and their agents is I think it gives you the option. One of the in the video they were showing how the lady was trying to order a new shirt for a concert, and then the AI with the AI agent it then asked her, well, here's 3 more items that you could choose to buy.
Mhm.
Like, I don't want that. Like, I want to buy what I want. I'm now for a business standpoint, it's good because you're potentially getting more sales, but I want to get away from that.
Oh no! So I know that there's a way where you can have privacy. So I believe that when I go to a website, I can just give them this like I provide them the information I want them to know about me, and I don't give them my address. I don't give them anything about me. So you de-identify all the information about you, and you just give them the information. But you give them a lot of information. So as long as they don't know who I am, but I can give them the information and then like they shouldn't need my name or my shipping address or anything. If I just give them like if there's a middleman where it's like no, you just like send to this like there's a way to do this, and we just never have done this before because they always want to collect your data. And that's where we were talking about before. We're gonna have to rethink privacy because you need privacy because these AI tools are too good, right? So there's a way to do this where you can get extreme personalization with privacy, and those companies will be extremely successful, I think, because people want, like in that example you were saying, like in Vertex AI, you were able to, the lady took a picture of like someone else's shirt that they liked, and then they uploaded it to the chatbot, and they're like, hey, do you sell, they went to the place that they liked, like their favorite. For me, I love Marine Layer. So I go to Marine Layer, be like, hey, do you guys have something like this? And then it came back. It's like, oh, actually we do. And then she said, hey, I need this for a concert I'm going to in like a day. Is it available to ship? And that's the type of like personalized experience I think is cool. But I wanted for them to just like have a shipping code barcode that they slap on that box. It doesn't have my name on it, but it gets to my house. Now maybe UPS, FedEx, they understand, like they provide that service. And there's a way to do this that I actually have a whole company idea on this. So, but someone's going to do it. That, I think it's just common sense, so people just do it like that. I think.
That makes perfect sense because I mean, right now we all don't. That's why DuckDuckGo, right? That was a really good concept of privacy and to prevent your data being constantly shared. And I think people there's a want for it. It's just you have to give up your if you want an Apple, if you want an iPhone, or if you want an Android, you sign your life away, but you can't even access the phone unless you agree to the user agreement. And there's competitors out there who've tried, but if they just can't capture the market because of the big guys and their money. With AI, I mean that hopefully it's going to get more because AI is going to be able to get your data even more so. So I agree with you. I think there needs to be a good reset, and I think a company out there who can do it appropriately. There's so much potential out there for that.
Yep. And because this can help you code, because it can help you create marketing materials, because it can help you start your business for a fraction of the cost, that's where we will get these companies. And so it's like the overall theme is you can do everything you want to do in your startup for like 1/10, 1/100th of the price in the next few years. So therefore you should imagine there's going to be a tremendous amount of startups that were never able to get off the ground because they didn't have enough funding. They didn't have enough, like now you can do those things. So like that's what is about to be unleashed on the world. And so that's the positive side of this, where it's like, wow, this isn't necessary. Okay, yeah, it's going to disturb the job market. You're going to get a bunch of people whose total job displacement. That sucks. However, this is going to make it so that the people that want to start that business but didn't have the money, didn't have all the expertise, like they now can. And so that's exciting. And I don't want to repeat myself too much, but also this maybe gets us into that article that was it a New York Times article about banking? You want to talk about that a bit? Now that I've completely gone unscripted, maybe I'm trying to bring it back.
That was where we were supposed to be at before aliens. But I like the alien topic better. Trust me. But
yes, I mean, you want me to talk about that, or do you want?
Yeah, go for it.
So there was this article. Where is the article? I have it here somewhere. Oh yeah, so it's a New York Times article. It's called "The Worst Part of a Wall Street Career May Be Coming to an End," And essentially what it was talking about is like these giant banks are looking at how they can take these intern jobs, like how they can basically use AI to reduce the headcount. And there's a lot of these jobs where someone comes right out of college and they are just like these grunt workers, but they learn a lot. Like it's hard to get these grunt working jobs. And so like, you know, this is how a lot of like the biggest titans in the banking system have gotten into the banking system, is they took on these jobs. And so there's a few different angles to this article. One is that Accenture said that 2/3 of these like just like jobs where they get a lot of these people right out of college and they don't really know anything about the banking system, but they're like, you know, they obviously are like the cream of the crop from these great schools. And this is normally where they learn about the banking system. They learn underneath the titans, right? And then they move up in the banks. But they're saying that 2/3 of these jobs you can automate with AI. So in one sense, you're getting rid of that kind of like, because you don't really learn much in college, in my opinion, but you use college to then weed out like who's the cream of the crop. Then they get hired at these big banks, and you can take this to different industries, and then they learn underneath other people in these programs, like, or in these companies, and that's where they really learn about the real world. And if you replace 2/3 of those jobs with AI, how are you ever going to retrain these new like cream of the crop people that went to college to just
Right.
get that a chance to learn under the best and brightest at like JP Morgan? And
Right.
that's one of the problems with this article. Like they're saying in this article that those apprenticeships are going to go away because AI can do like the grunt work that they were doing, but really that was just like a way for them to learn about the business. So it's and then like this is not just the banking industry, and the banking industry is like, hey, they talked to a few different banks, and they're like, these banks are all in on using AI to do exactly this.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, because it is concerning, because like, you know, think about how many people just, you know, just graduated college, and just, I mean, just within the last year or two, not to mention people who did it 10 years ago. I mean, a lot of this has changed, and it's going to change a lot of it. And um, there's always going to be people who try to take advantage of it, and the you know, big guys and their schemers and stuff. So I think it's definitely an interesting article. Um, and I think it's really going to be one of those things, is like, what is the ethics behind it? You know, what is going to be the new ethical, you know, wild west? You know, we're going to have to rethink some of these things again, and how much do we pursue it?
Like ethical in what way though? Like
Of
well,
what for these banks? You know, like, what are they going to be doing? Like, what's the moral ground of AI and finance?
moral ground meaning like for replacing jobs, or
Yeah.
like
Where you invest your money, where you allow your bank to, when people apply for loans, I mean, they control of where it can go.
oh yeah. So okay, that's a great point. I heard someone talk about this the other day. So they're saying that okay, because these models are biased, uh, everything's biased, but some of these models, you know, it's all about the training data. So they're
Yep.
saying that so there are laws though. So there are regulations already in place saying that you cannot like be biased in how you're like, banks cannot say, hey, we're not going to loan to certain people or certain things. Um, like, I mean, I didn't say that right. You know, there's credit scores and things that you can go on, but you can't say, hey, if these two people have the same credit scores, like we cannot look at the race of the person and not give money to one or the other. And so I would say to answer that question is that they cannot deploy models that they are not confident. So if they're not confident that the model can handle that, then they're not going to be able to use the models without double checking them.
Yeah.
So, but that goes back to a lot of what I've said in every episode. I don't want to. There are regulations, there are rules, there are laws, and they do not go away now that AI is here. And so you cannot deploy the model on on things that are going to break the law, right? Like, and so you might be able to use it to try to help you do some tasks, but you cannot like completely just say, oh, this model, like we're just not going to like look at the outputs And so that's where you still need people to verify data, right? But there is low hanging fruit, like for looking at summaries of like for in this article they're talking about like a lot of this grunt work was like creating PowerPoints, was looking at potential acquisitions. They're saying that like one of the things in here, it said like um, AI will enable us to do tasks that take 10 hours in 10 seconds, right? Said the Jay Horan, co-head of investment banking at JP Morgan. So it's like there are some tasks that took so much time before because it was like you had to go analyze all this data. So it's like around this industry, and now you can do that data analysis a lot faster. Like so that's where some of these things I think are going to be like. And we talked about this. Like you can listen and talk to the earning like the past earnings call for a stock. You just upload that Gemini 1.5 with that huge context memory and just start talking to it. Like we could never do that before. You'd have to hire someone, one of these bankers, like these great prospects out of like a great school, say, hey, go learn about the past 5 earnings calls, which these earnings calls are more than an hour, and then you would have to talk to them. But now you can just talk to the data by uploading it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So it's kind of mind-boggling, like what you could do.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to make a huge change in the way that we think about things, and I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see what we do. That kind of leads us into kind of our our last quick topic that we'll talk about, and that was just how with AI tools, and we kind of talked about this in the last episode as well. What do we feel is the first step into mastering AI tools? Because there's so many. We talked about your website with Inquest AI, and this is not a commercial for it, not anything like that. But that is kind of one of the things that we both are here for, is because we both know that AI is going to be huge, and we both know that there's a lot of things coming out consistently every day. So for anybody that's listening or watching, like what do we feel like that is going to be their first step into just an understanding of how to get involved? Like maybe they've never even done anything before. Obviously my advice would be is just jump in on it, like jump on ChatGPT and just start putting inputs in, and then but once you get past that, that's level one. You start looking at other AI tools. So what do you think? What do you recommend?
So one, be curious. If you use ChatGPT all the time, that's awesome. So you're like way ahead of the curve. So then know that ChatGPT 5 is coming out, soon. And it's going to be doing so then be saying, okay, when the next model comes out, which OpenAI has already said is going to be much better. And as we can see, like it's not just OpenAI, right? It's Gemini. They're coming out with these models. So it's like what can it, if you already use it, you already know it's pretty amazing. What are the limitations now that you would say, okay, it makes sense that limitation is going to be gone in the next few months? How can I use that to like in my business? How will my competitors be using that? So then maybe you should do that. Like, so you really need to be like, where's the puck going to go? How can I use those new tools to do things that maybe I can start my own business? Like that's where I think it's because like very much if you're already using it. If you're not using it, really simple, just start using it, pay the $20 a month or use, for, one of the models and use it every day and challenge yourself to use it every day. And be curious about it. And then also if you have used it and you think it's not that great, which probably won't be a lot of people listening to this, I'm guessing, but I don't know, then you should really kind of think you're probably not using it right.
I loved what you said. And I think that's a perfect thing and it's a great quote. I think the great quote of Dan Brown on this one is be curious. Being curious is it's how you're going to learn. That's how you learn anything in life is being curious. But with AI, it's just reaching out there and just trying it out. Put in the crazy responses, do the funny things, do the serious things. Think about your small business. I mean, that's how, I have a full-time job that I do outside of what started off as a side hustle with Sphere AI. But I thoroughly, I have a marketing background, and I thoroughly enjoy just the creativity part of it. My job that I do full time does not allow any creativity whatsoever. And so I enjoy that creativity outlet, and AI allows me. And as I said earlier in this episode, like my artistic skills is nothing. I mean, I still draw stick figures for most of my things. So to be able to utilize AI and to use software that's out there to help do what I do with marketing, just marketing different things, news at the point and trending ideas. But I'm going to, I'm loving it. And it's all started with just because I was just curious of what it was. I was interested in it. And it has opened up a whole nother avenue. My life, if you go back 2 years ago, and it's kind of weird to say because of AI, but it really is AI has changed my whole trajectory in life because I was curious about it.
Yeah.
And Dan and I connected because I was curious, and he was curious of our interest in AI. And so I love that quote, and I think that will be one I will consistently remember is that. So.
And one more thing here. So earlier I was mentioning being able to use models locally. I just want to mention I use GPT and then for all. So it's GPT and then the number 4 all.io. You can download this software that allows you to use these models on your computer in a very easy way, no code, right? So because otherwise it can get difficult. Another one that people talk about, I've not used it, is lmstudio.ai. And so that's if you want to try out running some of these models locally on your computer to just kind of like see how that works. And I think it's kind of fun. And what else?
I'll say my last tip that I'll say is to kind of add on to what you were saying with becoming better with AI is be curious and just use it as much as you can in your daily life. That's kind of actually how I started mine. Is I was using it to help me write emails. I was using it to help me. I have good thoughts, but I can't get it out. And so AI does a really good job of helping you reword your thoughts and getting it out there. Use Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, if you have access to it for your work ideas. If you work in an industry where you are constantly creating PowerPoints or creating reports, just utilize it. And you don't have to you don't copy and paste it, but use it to get yourself ideas at least. That's kind of the first little bit of it. And just every day, just kind of incorporate it in your life. If you want to go and create or buy a car, use it to help help go in there and tell what you're looking for and say, where's a good place to get it. You will be amazed at the results that you get just in something as simple as that. So put it in your daily life, and then the more and more you use it, you'll start finding yourself getting curious about other ways to use it, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. So I hope that we at least have one person that listens to that and is able to inspire them to do what we did.
Yep. And I'm be starting a newsletter pretty soon with Inquest AI that I'm pretty excited about. It's like there's a little spin to it that's kind of unique, but once it's done, I'll announce it here hopefully next week. And also say, like, on our site, you can go ahead. The whole point of our site is that you can go and search. There's a button where you can just press For You button, and you can put in your profession, and then it will show you conversations and AI tools based upon like your profession that are relevant to you. So it's like the For You section that you can just start right away. And so that's another way to do it. And then I think just talking to these models like they're a person, giving it more context is the easiest. One of the easiest ways to do is just like give it a lot of context so it can really truly understand what you're looking to do.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, I agree. And to support Dan and I both, I mean, definitely check out with sphereai.ai, and then check out inquestai.com, and follow us on social media. And I'll attach that. We both have a passion for it, and I know that we're going to continue to stress to kind of put that together and make it better and make it our product. So I think that's going to be it for this episode. I hate to, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, these conversations go by so fast, and it's hard to believe it's been over an hour, but I'm looking forward to the next one already. So
Awesome.
You got anything else you want to say before we close out?
Nope. I think that's good.
All right. Well, So, in the end, that's another episode. Episode 3 is coming to an end. We definitely appreciate anybody that's watching this now after we after we upload it, or whether it's 5 years from now and you're going back and looking at how far Dan and Eric has came over the last 5 years. Because I promise you, whether it's in our minds or in reality, we will go places in our heads. So so we're going to keep doing it. I definitely continue to encourage you all to continue to support us by following us, liking it, subscribing to our page, and sharing everything that you can. Give us a comment, give us feedback, give us things that you're interested in that you want to talk about. We're definitely going to start eventually, soon enough. We've got already a couple of potential guest ideas lined up. We just kind of wanted to get the podcast part. We're both new to it, and you'll see probably changes after each episode and each episode. So hopefully by episode 50, we will finally have got a pattern going. So, but yes, we appreciate it, and we definitely look forward to for recording episode 4 coming up very soon. So I appreciate it. I hope everybody has a good day, and we'll see you next time.
All right. See you later.